Hi guys, welcome back to SHQ. We're doing a follow-up video on our original what board to choose. I think when we first started, we were talking body weight plus 30 or 40 litres. That comes down if you're somebody like our team rider Derek, who's a skilled windsurf specialist, I would call you. He's taken a winging extremely well, in fact, annoyingly well. What we're riding now is a sort of progression from what we started. So we're talking about people's second boards here, what we're going to look for. Derek, what was your second board?
Well, I'm 70 kilos and I started on a 96 litre.
Yeah.
And it was heaps of fun for about 200 sessions.
Reduce that learning curve, up on foil early,
There's
positive buoyancy.
No penalty for going big when you're learning.
Yeah.
And you just stay big until you can jibe and tack, and that's when you go up. This is starting to feel big. That's when you go a bit smaller. Then you go to your, I went to my weight plus 10 litres. I went to 80 litre. And that was great for another 200 sessions. And
it got a little narrower too. So not just a little shorter. So the volume changed, went down. It went a little shorter and a little narrower because you don't need all that width for stability.
That's right, yeah. And at the same time, I had a 34 litre prone board that I'd take out when it was really windy. Yep. And I really love that, but your learning curve of something that's hard work to get up, hard work to land jumps, just goes through the roof. So I would only bring that out for beer and skittles.
And that's the full sinker board where you're pushing it underwater, usually using foot straps. More like half your body weight as a sort of a minimum for that, really, isn't it? But you need either a bigger sail or more wind to pull that board up on foil out of the water.
Yeah, and unless you've got all your transitions dialed and you can heel side, toe side, duck jibe, everything, it's just stay away from them. You just create a whole lot of work for yourself.
So I think we're saying your second board should be around your body weight. So that sort of
body weight or body weight plus 10.
Plus 10, yep. Nice neutral buoyancy because you've got to factor in the weight of your foil, whether you're using something sort of alloy or full carbon. There's a couple of kilos difference.
Yep. And you can get away with a smaller board with a bigger foil. So there's that little edge there. But also, if you're going to go small, again, pumping is king. The smaller you go, the better your pump technique has to be.
Yeah, and it's also, when you go smaller, there's less water tension to break. So with a good hand wing technique of pumping and a board technique of pumping, you can get that smaller board to release as early, if not earlier, than your bigger board because you've learned a few more skills about how to get on foil quicker. Yeah. So less wet area is actually beneficial if you've got the buoyancy right.
Yeah.
So when did you go to the 5.0, Derek, in the Fanatic?
I think that was my second summer. I went to the 5.0 and the Fanatic. And these are great boards. Early release, like for their size, this hard rail here and the hard edge gives you great release, and you can get on this, a couple of knots less than you'd think.
Yep.
Compared to some of the other brands which have got the big tucks and all the fancy cutouts.
Yeah, so that nice early release planing bottom, I guess. Well, it's not really planing because your foil should come up really before planing speed. So it's just about getting water to release off the tail. Yeah. So 75 litres is with a foil, it's about neutral, isn't it?
Yeah, and this was heaps of fun, but after about 10 sessions, it was too big.
Too big again because you started progressing into tricks, rotations, you need less swing weight.
And also on a wave, these bigger, chunkier boards, and the harder rails. These are great for getting up on plane, on foil. But if you're doing a really hard heel side tack or you're riding quite a steep wave, these touch. So they've got their place in the intermediate space. But if you're really trying to push over, then something with more of a bevel is your friend. So there's always compromises with boards. There's no such thing as one board that does everything. You've got to work out what your style is and what you like.
So this is where that almost 45-degree bevel edge comes. If you've got a board lean right over on rail, that gives you sort of less sharp edge to catch on the windward side, and when you're landing rotational tricks, it's a little softer to land on.
It self-corrects. So if you've rolled over and you haven't landed to flacker perfectly, it self-corrects.
Yeah. And then when we're talking cutouts, we've skipped away from volume a bit, but when you're at speed moving forward and you touch down, these work that there's less wet area to stick back on the board so you can bounce back up. So it's sort of a balance that's sort of being played out between that fast flow release and cutouts for touchdown release. So this is a good combination of both.
But yeah, so, and again, you can get away with all this fancy stuff. It costs you the bottom end. You get better performance when you're really starting to bank it over, but you pay a little bit of a price down low.
Yep.
But you get better performance at the top. The Fanatic's a better all-rounder, or that square hard rail.
Yep.
Gets you up on foil easy, does most things really well. And if you run a really long mast, like an 85, you can get away with a hard heel side tack or good on a wave.
Yep.
So there's always tweaks. So you can get the early release, you can get the good waves.
And it's personal refinements too. So, and what's nice about winging is, like, I'm 90 kilos, so I can still ride the same 5.0 75 litre board as Derek does. I might go half a metre hand wing size, bigger. I might have to pump a couple more times because I'm pulling that board up to the surface, or I can use a slightly bigger foil and get that early release or early lift from the foil. So we both went down to quite low in volumes. You went down to a 36 litre 410 Cabrinha autopilot.
Yep.
They're amazing when they're up. They're also aerodynamic. You feel that lack of wind resistance.
Fantastic. Those little prone boards.
What it does do is change the way you foil a little bit, that you don't want to fall off and go through the process of getting back up again. So prone boards or sinker boards or low volume boards, I can ride a 40 litre board in strong enough wind, but it does change the way you ride a little bit, in that you want to be progressed enough to not consistently fall off foil, because it can be quite taxing, and or if there's holes in the wind, if you don't have enough wind, you're not getting up on foil. So second board, we're talking body weight plus 10 litres or so, and you can get that in a 410 or a 5.2 depending on your body weight. So you can choose shorter boards, have less earlier lift, but less nose and less swing weight. And when they're up on, when you're up on foil, you're not riding the board anymore, you're really riding the foil. So having the smallest possible board is beneficial in terms of aerodynamic, just, cutting through the air.
And what am I on now? I think I'm on a 50. I'm on a 57 code, which is 13 litres less than my body weight. So it's one of these, and that's great fun. And I can use that down to 13 knots. So yeah, it's this one's little brother. And these boards are super light, very nice to carry down the beach, and they've got a great handle. My favourite part, the handle, awesome.
Yeah, a little concave in there. And guys can go really short, but keep a little bit of width for that stability, because you just got to be able to get from your knees to your feet. Then you're using the power of the wing to pull yourself forward. So again, that sort of slight double concave, a bit of a nose to help you track straight.
And it's got enough of a bevel, so when you're pushing over in your heel side tacks, and on a wave, it doesn't catch.
Yeah.
And the handle. Did I tell you about the handle? Fantastic.
That's a two-hand handle.
Yeah, it's great. And like the more moderate cutouts mean you don't get that really weird change in dynamic.
Yep.
The really deep cutouts have their place, but it's like a step change, whereas these gives you more of a progressive lift off.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So.
I'll just add to the range that Derek and Tom just talked around. This is like the other end of the spectrum. This is the KT Ginxu. This is for your hardcore wave rider, that can get up really easily and well, and just wants that no compromise wave riding feel through the foil. Like the key feature on these guys is they've got this, let me swing around this way. They've got this big step in it. So what this does is, all the water releases from this point. So when you're sort of coming down and bouncing off the water, it'll just take off straight away again and get up really easy. And also you've got a really thin volume of board beneath your foil, so you feel more connected to your foil through the board. These guys, they're a little bit trickier to get started on, because you find that the volume's sort of up the front a little bit more. So you might find you're sort of starting with your feet like this, and then as you pop up onto foil, you step back into your back foot strap. So provided you're comfortable with doing that, this would be a great board for you if you're a bit more of an advanced wave rider and you really want to, run sort of quite small foils on bigger, faster waves and have a better, more connected feel to your foil.
And the construction tin for guys that go big and jump.
Yeah. So these guys are built like a windsurf board, basically. It's a sandwich construction. you know, these are really made to be abused, so that they weigh slightly more, but you know, they're just absolutely rock hard and would take a beating, you know, and really built for, you know, jumping and wave riding and someone who's riding a lot more aggressively, you know.
Perfect, thanks too.